All right, we are live. Aloha kahiaka, everyone. Good morning. I'm Peter K, and you are with us today on July 18th, 2025 for the Aloha Friday Hawaii Real Estate Show. I am so glad it's Friday, and I'm so glad that you all are here. We have a great show for you today. So we got a bunch of things going on. This is our lineup. So we're going to do some market update. We're going to talk about what's happening on the various markets. We're great today. We have a special guest from Kauai with us today. I got your questions. We have a really, really, really good one to talk about today, and the right people to talk about it. And we're going to go over some diamonds and deals, some really cool properties that our friends that want to show. And we have a very special one today, a really, really special one. And we're going to close with some motivational thoughts. So that's our show for today. So the first thing we got to do is we have to warm up the internets, folks. And so the way we're going to warm up the internets is we're going to bring our friends on the show over here and talk. We got some cool new, not new faces completely, but new to the show, at least in Sasha's case. Sasha Thompson is joining us from Oahu. We got Ronnie Margolis, who is from Kauai, and we have Dylan Onaka, who is hailing from the Big Island. So we're just warming up for the internet. So why don't we start with the warm up? Dylan traditionally tells us about the shirt he's wearing, because guys aren't into fashion. But Dylan's got like a great shirt collection. Dylan, what's the shirt, and how's Kona doing today?
Yeah, I'm rocking my standard living hula shirt, and I was just thinking this morning I was gonna have to talk about it. I'm like, I don't know exactly the story behind this pattern. All the patterns have a story behind it. I should probably ask the designer what it is so I could explain that better. But yeah, beautiful day over here in Kona, and this is my final day at being 43 years old. So looking forward to celebrating a birthday tomorrow with the family and a bunch of friends, watching Max Holloway from Oahu fight Dustin Poirier in Louisiana. It's a big UFC fight tomorrow. So that's the plan.
Well, for my 44th birthday, I had a Reggie Jackson party. Okay. He was number 44. It was a Reggie Jackson theme.
Okay.
And I went to the same high school as he did. So special.
Wow.
There you go. Well, Dylan, wishing you a very happy birthday. Enjoy it. You deserve it, and I know you're going to have a great time with lots of friends and family. And it is a well earned birthday. Cool, awesome. Ronnie, give us the update. How are you doing? We have to come up with something that like Ronnie's warm up thing. I don't know what it's going to be, Ronnie. Maybe you can think about that. How's Kauai? How's the weather on Kauai though?
When I warm up, I usually start with single stroke rolls, and then I move into paradiddles. And Kauai is doing fine. It's it's been a very breezy week. And, I think the main thing, and maybe you'll give me an opportunity to share, is a huge thing that happened in the courts this week that has to do with an ongoing issue that's been going on for 5 years with one of the major developers in the island.
Oh, okay. Well, that's going to be something that if we have I'm sure we'll have some time to chat about that, and that'll be good to hear. So thank you, Ronnie, for helping us warm up the internets. And Alex Peck, the man. Alex is a member of the Islander Ohana. So Alex, good to see you again, buddy. And hey, his birthday was on the 11th. All right, happy birthday! Awesome. Hey, by the way, if you're joining us, make sure you let us know. I'd love to know that you're here. Say hello. Give us a shout out. Let us know where you're from. It's always kind of fun. It's always fun to kind of see the members of the Ohana. All right. Speaking of our last member of the Ohana for today, Sasha Thompson. Sasha, nice to meet you, Sasha. It's the first time I'm meeting you. Thanks to Dylan, you're here and you're from Oahu. What's the side of the island that you're on right now on Oahu, and how's the weather out there?
Aloha, everybody. I'm Sasha from Oahu. I live out in Kapolei, but I'm born and raised on this island. So yeah, I've lived all over. And the weather is getting hot and muggy. We're heading into August, and it is the most humid month of the year, and I'm already feeling it. Ready for the beach.
Already. I was it's been kind of off and on, right? You could always tell, like here's like I'm by you, Sasha, but like for me, the telltale that the weather's getting muggy is when we got to put the AC on at night to go to sleep. That's kind of when I know it's that season time, right? Got to put the AC on at night because it's a little too muggy. So we're getting
it. And you start sweating at 4 a.m. It's like, I guess I'll get up.
There you go, man. No, we just leave the AC on. We just leave it on all night. That's all we do. We got Yeah, I was not an AC guy, but my wife forced it onto me because cold weather guy. I was born in Chicago, coldest place in the world. And so,
well, we just
you
got
know,
our
I
solar installed, so I'll be getting my AC hooked up real soon.
that's it, man. That is actually nothing, Sasha, there's nothing more satisfying. Actually, I was not a solar fan until I was. And so we've had solar for a few years now. And it is actually really damn cool to think that the AC that you're powering on is not costing you anything. Well, it's costing you the $50,000 you paid a few years ago to install the solar. So yeah, but it feels free. It feels free.
It's a lot cheaper than paying the electric bill as what it would be. So
that is correct, girl. You got it. Because when whatever we paid was, the electric bill that we installed solar like 3 years ago, I think. And prices have gone up a lot since then. All right. Next slide, please. Okay. We're going to move on, folks. I got some news here I'm going to throw out, and then maybe we could talk about it too. Feel free. Let's get into this. I got a couple of things I want to kind of share with everybody. So a couple of interesting things here. Lots of ice in Hawaii. Wordplay over here. There's a lot of stories surprisingly about ICE, immigration, customs, and enforcement. You wouldn't think. I mean, I wouldn't think it would hit Hawaii, right? Because Hawaii, there's no border crossing and things of that nature. But there's a lot of stories about it. Apparently, what's going on is that the ICE folks are actually using Hawaii, a federal detention center on Oahu to hold overflow. So they're actually taking the illegal immigrants that ICE catches, and some of them are being brought to the detention centers in Hawaii. So it's quite interesting. It's causing all kinds of issues. But I just thought that was kind of quite amazing. There's a bunch of stuff too. There's a whole kinds of stories about ICE in Hawaii, and I would not have thought that that's the case. So, but it is. Changes mark the end of an era. So yeah, there's a bunch of stories that I caught. Dylan, maybe you can comment on this one. We'll talk about a special property, but Uncle Billy's is a famous hotel. We used to be a infamous hotel. That's getting demolished. There's the Award Center on Oahu. Sasha, you know this. Award Center is being demolished, which came out in the 80s. And then finally, there's one. Look at this thing. This is called the Falls of Clyde. Falls of Clyde is a very famous vessel, and it's actually here. Here's a more of a modern. Let's do a full view over here. More of a modern shot. Here it is in Honolulu Harbor. This ship, the Falls of Clyde, was purchased in 1898 by Captain William Matson. If anyone who knows about shipping cars to and or shipping stuff from Hawaii, Matson is the famous company. So Captain Matson bought the Falls of Clyde for $25,000, but that's $1 million in today's money. That still seems kind of cheap to me today for a ship. Anyway, so it's a very famous ship, and it's been basically it was one of the first shipping vessels from Hawaii to and from Hawaii. It would take ship oil, it would ship food and passengers. And Falls of Clyde, folks, it's going to go away. They're going to sink it. They're going to sink it. They tried to figure out what to do with it all these years, but they could not figure it out. And looks like they're going to sink it. They tried to save it.
What's the name mean? What's that mean? Falls of Clyde. The
Falls of Clyde. Interesting. Yeah, that's a great question. So it comes from I should have wrote this down. But some Irish community, some place in Ireland where there's a waterfalls. And I don't know if that's like the connection, but there's a place in Ireland that talks about waterfalls, the Falls of Clyde, the waterfalls of Clyde. And that is related to this ship. I don't know if it was built there or it came from there or whatever. But yeah, Falls of Clyde, end of an era, man. End of an era. So anyway.
I must say, I have to say, that makes me really sad to hear. And I am
right.
I'm like dropping my jaw right now listening to you say this. I guess because I'm on I should know. But really, this ship, I've been on this ship a couple of times to go. It's like a museum.
Right.
And it's really, really neat. It makes me really sad to hear that they're going to sink it, because it really should be like a landmark or like a
something. Yeah, I agree. And Sasha, if you want to save it, whip out the checkbook, girl, because no one else is paying for it, and that's unfortunately what it comes down to. No one wants to pay for it. Sadly, sad. But that's end of an era. Man. End of an era. It's kind of funny. I remember you mentioned that you went on. I remember this is back in the 80s. You could rent it for a party. And I went to a party on the Falls of Clyde, and like, what the hell is this? But yeah, wedding, not enough weddings. I guess not enough Japanese weddings to fund the Falls of Clyde. So yeah. Thanks.
They need
Sasha.
better marketing.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. Better
Let me
marketing.
put it
Better
on my
marketing.
social media and see if we can get it going.
Right? There you go. Get that going, Sasha. Hey, so speaking of monies, worst state for retirees. Yeah, well, nothing terribly surprising here, but Hawaii unfortunately got dinged for the worst place in retirement in terms of financially. So compared to, like, for example, Wyoming, but if you like cold weather, it's a beautiful place, but like snow. Right. Wyoming you only need $500,000 to for a comfortable retirement in Wyoming. In Hawaii, according to this website, Seniors Retirement Living, they said Hawaii, highest out of the entire U.S. They're quoting you need $1.6 million to retire comfortably in Hawaii, and there's limited access to healthcare access for seniors. So there you go, folks. Another good reason to want to live in Hawaii. It's the worst, but that means it's also great for us who make it. All right, and then finally, healthcare jobs. Speaking of finances, 41,000 new jobs are going to be needed by 2032. So there's a lot. If you're in the healthcare industry, Hawaii is a great place to be. And then finally, the lava continues on the Big Island. As Dylan knows, we are into episode 28. So, all right, I think that's it for the quick update for today. So, why don't we do this? Let's do a market update. Let's kind of figure out what's happening on the various markets, whatever that you'd like to say. So let's go, Sasha, then Ronnie, and then Dylan. Sasha, give us an update. What's the big deal of the market, the way you see it on Oahu? What's happening? And we tried something new. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but if you have some sort of an anecdotal story, some kind of something that happened over the past couple of weeks that you could remember that gave you an insight about what's happening on the market, that would be great too. But anyway, share what's going on with Oahu, Sasha.
What I'm noticing is we have a very high amount of listings. They're sitting a lot longer, and buyers have a lot more play. They have a lot more negotiation room for credits. They've got more room for just price drops or whatever, J1 credits, things like that. They have time to make offers. We are not competing with other offers in highest and best or anything like that. It really is more strategy. And condos, I'm noticing that our condo market, because we've got such a high inventory, last I checked we were like over 7 months worth. They're starting to drop prices, and HOA and insurance is starting to come down because there's all these laws changing too. And so I hope that we're going to be able to see a little bit of an uptick in our sales for our condo market. Right now, just all the insurances that are needed and HOA fees and that kind of thing has us kind of stuck to where they're really hard to sell, really hard to finance at the moment. So yeah, we're in a little bit of a slow spot, but it is what it is, and everybody needs a house, and it'll come.
There you go. It is what it is. Everybody needs a house, and I would also think that from what you're telling me is that it's also a better time than it was previously to negotiate. Right? There's a little bit more open. Right? A little more.
Yeah.
There's flexibility there for people.
More
who want
flexibility. You don't have to rush and try and get your offer in yesterday. You can kind of work with your lender and work your numbers out and try and just get better terms and conditions for yourself, for the buyers. Yeah.
Thanks. And I failed to mention, as you were speaking, Sasha, you've got a pretty cool background there. That is as opposed to me, I've got the City Mill soji screen, right, a banana leaf background, folded stuff. Ronnie's got the beautiful fake background, awesome stuff. But you've got the cool. What's that? What are some plants that are there? You go, Ronnie. Thank you. That's it. That's a little bit better. Yeah.
This is
I was putting the fake background on rather than where I'm sitting out on my lanai.
That's fine. Well, hey man, look, my background's sort of fake. My background's real, but it might as well be fake. Because here, let's. I should expose. I'll expose the reality. But anyway, Sasha. So tell us what's behind you there. What kind of plants are behind you?
So you know how well I'm doing by how much my plants I have in my yard, because every time I do a transaction, I buy plants. And so this is a fan palm, and it's beautiful. I believe it's part of the Haliconia family. If you can see right here, there's a flower, and it looks like a giant bird of paradise.
Cool.
And these ones, they kind of start growing wild if you don't tame them, but I love these because they give like a lot of privacy, but they're really pretty. So like my background,
It's awesome, man.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite plants. And then I've got like just some regular palms and tea leaf. And then right here, look, this is my favorite. This is like my pride and joy. This right here is Pakalana. And so it's a pretty vine. It actually was given from China, and it's edible, but we use it in our, I want to say Hawaiian lei, but it's not a Hawaiian flower, but we use it in our leis. It's this beautiful light green color, and the smell is unbelievable. And you should smell this at night. It's just, it's heavenly.
Man, if I would have only known,
that's my neighbor.
Man, if I would have only known. See, I didn't realize that you had a passion for your foliage. I think that's Sasha's thing. So from now on, the next time that you're on the show, when we do the intro, Dylan talks about his Aloha shirt. You're going to talk about the plants. That's it. That's your thing. That is your thing, girl. That is your thing, girl. So before we go to Ronnie to get the update on Kauai, I want to give a shout out to Rich. Rich, welcome back, Rich, buddy. Good to see you, man. Minnesota. What's the weather like in Minnesota today? Just curious. And also joining us is a long-term friend, Michael Latta. Aloha from San Diego. Welcome back, Michael. Great to see you, buddy. Thanks for being here. And if you're here with us, just give us a quick shout out. We'd love to hear from you. Ronnie, give us the update. What's Kauai doing, and how do you see the market on Kauai shifting, changing, same, less?
From my perspective, I refer to the state of Hawaii as no, you can keep Sasha up. It's fine.
There you go. Well, I know it's sorry.
She got more to the plants. Let's face it.
Yeah, I have to agree.
The neighbor islands tend to track very similarly, right? Because we are the neighbor islands and you are the big urban market. So very different markets. And when I just glanced at the numbers as you were asking the question, we're at a number that's maybe just below where we were in the middle of the month last year. So like we had a total of 65 sales for the entire island last month. And here we are on we're on the 18th. So now we're at 30. So we're probably going to wind up somewhere in that range. You were asking about anecdotal experience. Yesterday, I was trying to get a hold of a business broker. There's really only one primary business broker that sells businesses on Kauai, and he happens to be a friend and a neighbor. And someone was talking about SBA financing because this, a prospect called and he's buying a business here in Kapa'a. So I used Siri and I said, call Jim Karlofsky. And, I looked at my phone and it said, I said, call Jim Mayfield. And my phone came up, it said Jim. And I could tell by the sound of the voice immediately, I hadn't called Jim Mayfield. It was Jim Karlofsky. And, I said, I was trying to call Jim Mayfield. But I'm curious, while you have you, I'm sorry that I wasn't calling to show one of your luxury properties. And he responded and said, yeah, well, I'm more sorry than you that you're not calling to show one of my luxury properties. And what he was saying is, he said he mentioned to me, he said, when I look back at 2017 and 2018, we had, maybe 3,500 transactions for the year. And now we're at less than half of that for the year. And this is the third year of that kind of market. So naturally, like Sasha said, buyers start to have more leverage. Sellers maybe start to get more flexible. And he said, yeah, there's like no activity on the high end. And, this place is small enough that if there's a luxury buyer, if the director of technology at Disney Studios is here looking for a $10 to $15 million house, everybody seems to know it. And, his comment was, well, there's a few people circling around. And I think even up at that part in the market, buyers have a mindset that they want to be very careful. They know that the market is slow and they're kind of in the driver's seat because they're one of the few people out there. Now, I look at the market and I say, well, this is a challenging market. I'm sure, as Dylan would agree with me, for us who, make our livelihood serving people and sharing everything we know about the island we live on, as well as helping them negotiate and advising them. I totally forgot my train of thought. That's lovely.
It's all good. It's all good. Look, so my takeaway, it's all right, man. My takeaway from what you're saying is that basically, along the lines of what Sasha is saying, so this is an interesting trend, right? Along the lines of what Sasha is saying, the market is becoming it's shifting a little bit more towards the buyer side. As you said, the buyers, they're calling the shots. And on Kauai, because Kauai is, definitely there's a lot more premium. I don't know what the ratios are, but Kauai strikes to me as a place where, like, there's more premium homes, probably has a higher percentage of premium homes than the other islands, just because of it's a bunch of factors. So when a buyer, that's funny though too, right? Small island, big buyer walks in, everybody knows. That's gotta be funny.
I remembered what I lost my thought. Sometimes that happens. It actually comes back
to me all the time.
But right, okay. Exactly. So we come from the same generation. I think that so. As I look at the market, I think, well, the condo market is, the maintenance fees are so high and the insurance is so high. And this buyer says to me, and we're actually going out and look at 7 condos today. He said, this is a great market to be buying in. There's so much more for sale than there was 4 years ago when I bought stuff here. So right. They know that they're in the minority being a buyer in this market.
Oh yeah.
And I know that when we buy something, they're going to want to be aggressive.
Yeah, and look, and if you're at that level of wealth, you're probably going to be a cash buyer too, which gives you even a bigger advantage because properties are underpriced because of the high interest rates. But if you're buying cash, you don't have to worry about that. That's not a factor, so you're getting even a better deal. All right, cool. Thanks, Ronnie. That's totally awesome, dude. Dylan, give us the update. What's happening give us the big on update, the big on news, and what's the market and any anecdotal stories you want to share that illustrate what's going on.
Yeah, it feels like, I think the update is it's boring. There's nothing really going on. I mean, it's been really flat the last couple of months, and we've kind of seemed like a broken record. But just in terms of like number of sale activities, it's interesting. There's usually a lot of like variation month over month, where 1 month, and just kind of going back throughout the last 12 months. July of last year there was 400 sales, and then August there was 356, and then September there was only 293. So I mean, there was like this huge variation all over the place. But if you look over the last like 3 months, in June there was 375, in May there was 376, and in April there was 368. So it was almost like totally flat. And then if we go all the way back to March, there was 409, and then February there was 351. So it's kind of like just been this like flat trend line of activity. So I don't know if that's like a stabilization of the market, because previous to kind of like the last 2 years, I mean, we'd see these huge shifts where it's like, man, what's going on? Is the market crashing? Then it's like right back up the next month, and it'll be back down again the next month. And we've kind of seen this stabilization in number of sales. But like all the islands, We're up to like 2,500 active listings, where if you go to a year ago in July, there was about 2,100. So we've seen like almost a 25% increase in the number of listings just year over year. So month over month, listings continue to increase. But again, we're still not back to pre-COVID levels of like 3,500, which was very normal in the pre-COVID years. So overall, I think the update is it's pretty steady, it's pretty stable, which is a good thing. We needed that. There's too much insanity for too long. And like Ronnie and Sasha said, I mean, it's a very good time for buyers to come in and negotiate, get better credits, get better terms. I think, I don't know if I mentioned on a show recently, but we had a past client who had two investment condos, one on each side of the island. And he called us and he says, hey, I want to sell my 2 condos and buy, one expensive one up in Waikoloa. And we says, well, okay. And he says, so, let's get those on the market. And this is the unit I want to offer on. And we're like, I don't know if we're going to be able to get a new unit under contract when the other 2 got to sell first. And he's like, let's give it a shot. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And lo and behold, it worked. Like that's the market we're in. Is like, we got a new condo under contract with 2 that needed to be sold. So not 1 contingency, but 2 contingencies. And that wasn't a thing, for a very long time, that you just weren't even considered if you needed it to sell before buying. But we're in a market now where a seller is definitely willing to work with you and maybe give you a 60 or 90-day escrow in order to do what you got to do, sell some other properties, because the market is slow. So it's some really good opportunities out there. And the days of contingent offers are definitely back, which is good news for a lot of folks.
I'm in 3 contracts with contingent, have to sell first before. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I'm sure you guys have talked about this. I'm sure there's been discussions in your industry. So this is nothing new, but my sense is you're going to get you should get a good pop when those interest rates go down, as they surely will. They're going to go down probably before the end of the year. And I don't know if people are consciously waiting or whatever, but my sense is that when that comes around, you're going to get a bunch of people who've been on the fence and whatever. Plus, you've got the sellers. It could be like a sort of a perfect storm, right? Because you've got these sellers who are like sick of their property's not selling, so they're more open than they've ever been to do some kind of a price cut, right? There is going to be essentially a price cut because the rates are going to go down. So you may have a perfect storm. So I hope that's the case. And but whatever it is, we're just going to keep going on, right, Sasha?
I've been seeing varying predictions about that. Like if the interest rate drops by 1 point, there's like 1 million buyers sitting on the fence that will enter the market. So that's definitely a consideration. If you're out there kind of thinking about waiting, it's like, hey, you can get in now and do some stuff that's more creative and get better terms, or you can wait till those 1 million buyers come back into the market, and now you got to compete against them, and we get back to a situation where you have to give away the farm as a buyer in order to get into contract.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? That's the thing. That's
just refinance.
Just refinance.
It's interesting. I'm wondering, like, if I don't know if banks can do this or not, but just what popped in my head is, I wonder if banks could offer a product that is sort of like a kind of a refinance, or a refinance bonus is included with the rate. So in other words,
our lending partner that we work with gives a free refinance guarantee for 5 years. So if you buy with them today, they'll free refinance your house, pay for the appraisal, no fees within the next 5 years if the rates go down. So
what a brilliant idea! I'm glad I didn't think of it. Okay, awesome. That's fabulous.
Reach out to us. We can connect you. We can connect you with them, because they have some other great incentives too. But lenders are already kind of thinking about that from an incentivized standpoint. Yeah,
of course.
I noticed more of them are offering appraisals too. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, next slide, please. Speaking of appraisals, how did you get here? If you got here on the newsletter, if you got the invite on the newsletter and you click and you're here, God bless. You're great. If not, you want to get on that newsletter, livinginhawaii.com. Just go there. Thing will pop up. You put in your email address and you will get notifications. Free stuff like we do here today. Fabulous articles come out every single week. Great content. Be a part of what's going on. Get to livinginhawaii.com. And if you haven't joined us yet, if you haven't said hello yet, give us a quick shout out. I'd like to know where you're from and who's with us. It's always kind of cool to kind of say hi to everybody. All right. This is an Ask Us Anything show here, right? So this is what we do here. This is what we do. It is a Ask Us Anything. we used to limit it to like, we used to kind of say real estate, and then we kind of expanded to Hawaii. But I'm going to go out on a ledge here and say, ask us anything about anything. It's an Ask Us Anything show. So if there's anything that you want to know about anything, maybe even like, Ronnie's background, God, whatever. I don't know. It's an Ask Us Anything show. But I do have a couple of questions. Let's see, at 9:30. Okay, we're doing it right on time. I do have one question that was submitted that I want us to hit, and this might be kind of fun, which is earthquakes, eruptions, and landslides. Oh my, a take on the Wizard of Oz thing. So, people want to know, it's kind of funny that you get various kinds of comments from people who are asking about, oh my God, how do you, aren't you afraid about, it's kind of funny. You have people who are messaging me on Oahu when the lava is erupting on the Big Island, and like, are you okay? Is everything, are you going to be all right over there? Are you guys in danger? So there, we have eruptions, we have earthquakes, we have tsunamis, we have hurricanes. So what's the thing? What do you tell people? I guess let's hit it this way. How do locals prepare? That's a good one. How do locals prepare, and what should newcomers expect when it goes from natural disasters in Hawaii? So why don't we start? Sasha, give us the update. What do you guys do, when there's like a thing, either a storm warning or a hurricane warning, or the rare tsunamis? What do you guys do? And before we do, I want to say hi to Pete Turney. He says, aloha, watch from Hilo, Hawaii. All right. Welcome. Good to see you. Sasha, what do you guys do?
We go to Costco and buy toilet paper and water. Oahu, we don't really have, like, we'll get the rain and, hurricane warnings and stuff, but we haven't been hit since Iniki. And the only time I've ever felt an earthquake was that October one in like
2006.
2006. Yeah.
Yep.
That was the only one I've ever felt on Oahu. We don't really have landslides because we're so developed, and there's no eruptions because we don't got the volcano. People fly in and get very upset that they have to get another plane.
That's Sasha. That is so funny. I'm so glad I'm so glad you said that. We go to this because this is what everybody does, folks. You're getting like the total local olive view here, everybody. This is like priceless. When there's a natural, like when there's an emergency, everybody runs to Costco, buys toilet paper and water. That's so hilarious.
And fills up the gas tank, so the lines will be forever. Yeah.
And fill the gas tank and go. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is so damn funny.
I don't know why. I don't know why we do that.
So all right. So let's pull some history over here. But say hi first. I'm going to say hi to Heidi Perkins Walker. Aloha, been watching since the beginning. All right. Hey, Heidi, and only now, Heidi, my memory's not that good, but I know that this is the first time you've said hi. So it's awesome. All this time, lived on the Big Island.
Heidi.
Hey, Heidi, lived in Northern California. Love the program, Maggie. We love you, Heidi. Welcome. Okay, so here's the story on the toilet paper. Here's why all islanders have like PTSD on toilet paper, because in the 70s, if I'm not mistaken, there was a dock strike. And the first thing that everybody ran out of was toilet paper. And that's what happened. The toilet paper went off the shelves. So ever since the 70s, it has become now an island tradition to stock up on toilet paper. Even if you have
years later.
We're still doing it. We're still doing it. So there you go. Thank you, Sasha. Great. That's a great. So I was like, okay, this is awesome, man. Totally awesome. Yeah. Costco for toilet paper and water. All right, Ronnie, what do you do? What do you do besides go to Costco? Is there a Costco in Princeville? What do you do besides go to Costco and get toilet paper and water? Because Kauai gets its share, right? Because are you in Princeville? You guys get cut off. There's landslides. There's more stuff. What do you do, Ronnie?
Well, I think statewide we all have an awareness to be prepared for a hurricane, and it's toilet paper and it's water and it's canned food and anything that can happen. When I think about earthquakes, I moved to Kauai in 2004. I came here from the Los Angeles area, And I had my drill, where I went to in my house whenever the ground shook, and it did frequently. I went through quite a few big earthquakes. I remember when one of my friends was here from the East Coast, and there was like a little tremor, and oh my God, he just was so completely freaked out. Well, there was an earthquake on the Big Island. I think it was in 2004 or 5 that we felt up here on Kauai. And I heard this little jiggling sound. And, my mindset was so different. I said to my wife, do we have mice? Are there mice in the closet? Or what is that little sound? It was an earthquake, but not like any earthquake I had experienced. But yes, we have incredible water incidents. When I first moved here, January 2005, there was what they call 100-year rain. And my wife and my brother-in-law, we were all digging trenches in the backyard to keep the water coming into the house. In 2018, the devastating rain took out part of the far northern part of the island. I mean, it just literally took out the road. People were cut off. Of course, with the whole over tourism, on the island of Kauai and throughout the state, the people out there in Wainiha and Haiena were like, they were kind of happy. It was like back to the old days. Kids could run in the street, instead of thousands of cars out by Ka Beach. And I would say that the island is on a perpetual mission to be more prepared. In fact, someone at my Rotary meeting yesterday got certification, and we're very aware that being ready for a disaster is a very important thing. And so those of us that are very involved in the community are always getting together. There was a big landslide in 2019, and the whole side of the mountain on the road down from Princeville to Honolulu, it came down. And it was very interesting because about 4 or 5 nonprofits, including the Honolulu Initiative and our Rotary Club of Honolulu Bay, we just sprung into action. And people from that side of the island that needed to get across the road to get into town for work and stuff, people went out with dinghies and boats, and they went across Laird Hamilton, famous surfers, multi-million-dollar property, and they came up, and then we took them in a bus to the parking lot where they could catch the bus. And the local community like jumps into action, within the first hour. And then, a few days later, the government starts to get its shit together, if you will. So I would say that, constantly we're working at being, more prepared for that, because we need to. Incredible weather events have happened, and they're not predictable. In the fall of 2005, my son came here for the first time with his family and some of my grandkids. And he said, Dad, we really loved it. We want to come back as soon as possible. When should we come back? Well, New Year's Day, 2005, I had this 100-year rain. I said, well, don't come back in January, maybe like February, March. Well, that year in February and March, we had like 35 days of rain. A dam overflowed. 6 people were taken out to sea, gone, vanished. So I realized that, you can't predict the weather, but I think more than many places, we always need to be prepared for, Mother Nature, as it were.
Always be prepared. It's interesting because what you mentioned, and it makes sense that, we all have our various, weather PTSDs, right? Except Sasha on Oahu, we're like, man, this is nothing, man. Just, it's the line to Costco, right? That's the biggest PTSD. But you mentioned water, which of course is understandable because of the landslides and the island. And folks, the northern part of the island, there's only one road that ties together the north and the south part of the island. One road only, and that road that Ronnie was mentioning was the one that had the landslide and cut off the entire, literally cut the island in two. What you didn't mention though was hurricanes, and yet Kauai got whacked more than any other state with 2 hurricanes. It's going back a while. Iniki, when was Iniki, Sasha? Like 90
September 11th, 1992.
Yeah. So that's before Sasha was born, but it's
I was in 7th grade.
and that's
that day.
That's despite many buyers praying for a hurricane in Hawaii because they think it's going to drop the prices. Right? They've been praying for decades.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's the wrong kind of prayer, man. That is the wrong kind of prayer.
The local boys don't pray for hurricanes so they can go surf. It's terrible.
I remember it is what it is, man. It's pray for surfing on the hurricane. But so interesting though, Ronnie. Though, so there's not much of a PTSD I'm catching on hurricanes. It's much more close, which is rain, much more recent and much more real. So that's kind of an interesting thing.
Well,
so,
Iniki was an anomaly. The hurricanes come in. The pattern is like they come in south by the Big Island. They all seem to come in that way. For whatever reason, Iniki took a sharp turn north, and not only did it take a sharp turn north, when it got to Kauai, it stuck. It just hammered the island for an entire day.
Prayers answered, I guess. I suppose, and your prayer. Those who are prayers. That is a wild story on Iniki. Anyway, okay, thanks, Ronnie. Hey, Dylan. So give us the scoop. What folks on the what kind of weather PTSD issues do folks on the Big Island have? How do you guys deal with it? And how do you prepare for it?
I think the Big Island folks are probably the most used to it and the most numb to it because we get earthquakes all the time. And then we've talked about the hurricane issue in the past. Like it really depends on which side of the island you're on. To me, how much you need to worry about it. The east side of the island is where the hurricanes come from, the east. And so a lot of times, even if we do get some of the tailwinds and stuff, the east side will get hit. But then the west side, because of Mauna Loa, and it's like a huge shield that blocks the west side of the island from the weather. And that's why so much rain happens on the east side versus the west side. We're usually not affected by it. So me personally, and I think a lot of people just don't worry about it. You kind of worry about what you kind of control, right? I mean, you can be prepared for it, but I think of preparation kind of more extreme and more fringe than like buying toilet paper and water, right? Like I think about, we have lots of food in my yard just in case you need it, because sustainably over time your canned food will run out. I mean, you gotta have food somewhere else. And I always keep a lot of bullets on hand because I think at the end of the day, when it all goes to hell, the most important currency is going to be bullets. And so we always have many of those on hand. And so if anything, if we got to go catch our own food and stuff, we definitely can do that. And there's no shortage of pork here on the Big Island. So I think we'd be okay for a long time if something really bad happened. But to me, you got to think about preparation from just a natural disaster. Like there's going to be government resources. I mean, they're not going to let you starve, right? I mean, we figured this out. There's huge natural disasters all over the place, all over the world. And governments come in and figure that out. Communities rally and they figure it out. To me, I'm more concerned about like global meltdown of the electronic systems and the global shipping systems. And like, if something like that happens, then you're really on your own and you got to be able to figure out how to survive. So it's one of those things. The philosophy is, right, it's better to be a warrior in the garden than a gardener in a war. So you just want to be prepared to be that warrior in the garden. Hopefully never have to
warrior in the garden. Guns and ammo, baby. Guns and ammo. That's
lots of ammo.
Lots of ammo. That's a very,
and I also it's funny, I was just having this discussion with my son the other day. I forget what the context was. It was something about being prepared if there was like an apocalypse, and we like to watch zombie shows together, so that's why we have these discussions. But I was like, that's why I've taught you guys from when you were little to be able to shoot. Like you got to be able to handle a firearm and employ it, and that's a basic survival skill for the long run. And you guys have been able to do that since you were like 6 years old, So I said you're very prepared, so you don't have anything to worry about. You have the skill set you need to survive. So
that's it, man. Well, if you watch zombie movies, then you watch, of course, you saw what's it, World War Z? Is that the Brad Pitt movie?
That's the worst zombie movie because those are scary zombies. I like the stupid zombies. I like Walking Dead zombies, that are like easy, you just stab them in the head and they die. Like the World War Z zombies that are like on steroids. Those ones would concern me big time. So.
Well, see, but the World War Z zombie is what's the message of World War Z is to tell you that don't worry, the United Nations will save you, right? Because the big hero is an agent from the United Nations. So we're good. Yes. You got nothing to worry about, folks. You got nothing to worry. All right. Hey, thanks, Dylan. So before we move on, if you have any questions about what we've been talking about or anything else on your natural disaster, if you have some issues about Hawaii and that sort of stuff.
One more point on this, right? This is always about perspective. I was just having a conversation yesterday with some prospective buyers that are coming from LA, and Ronnie can definitely relate to this. And they were like, hey, we're looking on the east side and we see there's some reports of crime and stuff. Like, what do you think about that? I'm like, it's nothing compared to where you live. Like I wouldn't want to live in LA.
Nothing.
Nothing. Like zero. Like
Nothing.
I mean,
No.
it's 0.001 of the crime rate of LA. So if you're good in LA,
Yeah,
you're
you'll
definitely
laugh
good.
at it, you know.
Well, that's a common question. You know, people say, well, I like that house, but tell me about the neighborhood. Is the neighborhood safe? You know, that question is like, I don't know how to process it. Well, I've been
I
here
don't
for
know
21
either.
years. I've never locked my front door. I don't know. I think so.
It's so funny, you know, that so well, look, you know, I moved here in 84, 21 years old, right, from Chicago. And somebody said, oh yeah, you know, you got to watch out because, you know, Kalihi, it's a bad neighborhood. Like, dude, you have no idea what a bad neighborhood is. You have absolutely no idea what a bad neighborhood is. Kalihi's a bad neighborhood because the kids look at you like the weird way. That's Kalihi's bad neighborhood. Yeah, you don't know, you know, in Chicago, it's like when you're going through a bad neighborhood, it's like, don't stop at the intersection. Some intersections don't even stop at all. Just run the red light. The cops will tell you to run the red light, right? Yeah, for real, Sasha. They will tell you to run the red light. And for sure, what you never do is you never drive on the right side of the street, such that if you do stop at an intersection, you'll be stopped by the sidewalk, because that's a dangerous place to be. Is parked stopped in your vehicle on the right side next to a sidewalk where someone could walk up to your car and, you know, do whatever. So it's that kind of, that's a bad neighborhood. That's a bad neighborhood. So anyway,
and we look at the news recently, right, with wildfires in California, the flooding in Texas. Like, to me, the weather events here are pretty minor compared to what happened. Tornadoes in the Midwest. I mean, blizzards in the north and the northeast. I mean, yeah, it's really perspective wise. I mean,
all right,
we don't get hit with hurricanes nearly as much as the East Coast does. You know,
exactly.
Their poor thing, they get hit like up and then they come back down and hit them again and then hit them again. And it's like, what?
Dylan, when you
said Mexico will just line them up one after the other.
Dylan, when you say
our weather really helps, because like the hurricanes will come in, like Dylan said, from the east. Like they come off like the coast of Mexico and California, and they come across the ocean. And I really believe that our volcano and the being warmer helps to dissipate the storms, because by the time they get within like 300 miles, they're just like downgrading the tropical storms.
And big, and they slam into big mountains. You know, the mountains on the big one, it's like a giant wall, right? And they just hit the wall and bam, you know. All right, cool. Awesome. Yeah, lucky we live, man. Lucky we live Hawaii. I'll tell you that. I will tell you that. All right, let's hit some diamonds and deals over here. We have some fun stuff that we want to share, that our friends have gathered, forest properties that we want to look at and talk about. And let's see what this is, the haiku one that was from last week. And this is Eva Beach. This is Ashley's. Do you have, let's see. We're just kind of clicking over here. Let's see. Okay. Hawaiian Paradise Park. Dylan, is this yours?
This is, yes, absolutely. So,
all right, let's do it.
Yeah, just wanted to showcase always, you know, what's available on the Big Island on the east side. This is in Hawaiian Paradise Park. It's just south of Hilo. Catchment water, but 1 acre. And this is a brand new build, guys. Like, I mean, check this thing out, right? Beautiful 3-2 brand new build on a cleared 1 acre lot. Lots of room for landscaping, but just a beautiful modern home for $565,000. I mean, you can get in very, very affordably into very nice living here on the Big Island. And there's lots of this available on the east side, especially now. Like, we're talking about inventory. A lot of times, the builder inventory, the only place there's a lot of new construction, and it's all individual new construction, is on the east side. There's a lot of individual builders and contractors that build these spec homes and sell them. So if you want brand new inventory, very livable, you know, almost 1,400 square feet on a very nice 1 acre lot, this is your jam right here.
And if you want to get something for $565 on Kauai, I've got a great 600 square foot tear down on a 3,000 square foot lot. It's waiting for you.
There you go. It's all about perspective, right?
And I've got a townhouse for sale that's a 4-3 for $545 in Maili. I'm sorry, I don't have slides ready. I wasn't prepared, but yeah.
You're still muted, Peter.
All good, Sasha. All good. Yeah, excellent. Hawaiian Paradise Park brings back some good old memories, man. We lived near that area. We lived in Hawaiian beaches, which is even further
Yeah,
down.
that's deep. That's deep.
That's deep, man. That was Wild West country, man. We used to pass by Hawaiian Paradise Park all the time. That was great stuff. Cool. Thanks, Don. That's a great property. All right. What do we got here is whose is this one? We're gonna
I think this might be an old slide.
We get some. Okay. All right. So, Ronnie, do you have any slides? Because I've got actually a diamond
you go.
deal.
We're gonna defer to your diamond.
All right. So we'll just kind of go off the path of it. So I brought something. Now look. First, I'm not a realtor. I don't sell real estate. But we're featuring diamonds and deals, and I just came across this story, and there's a fun story behind it. And I thought, okay, hey, I'm gonna throw this on the show, man. So there's the Manago Hotel, the historic Manago Hotel on the Big Island. You talk about, Sasha, like end of an era. Here's another one, man. So this opened in 1917. This is in Captain Cook on the Big Island, 1,350 feet above sea level, and apparently, Dylan, I want to hear about this because there's a connection here. So here's like the old place. It is for sale. It's got 42 private rooms, 22 rooms shared with a bath. That's so funny. A restaurant and a store. What's interesting is that what they're saying is that, and I haven't been there, but the lobby hasn't changed much over decades with the same front desk. Hotel rooms still do not have televisions, and they have a communal TV room for guests. And as you saw on this map here, now they stopped renting out the rooms apparently some time ago, and all that's left now is the restaurant, the Kona Chips store, the warehouse, and the restaurant. So the rooms are no longer there. But even the rooms, though, 22 rooms with a shared bath. When was the last time we ever stayed? I mean, I actually stayed at the YMCA. On Oahu, it's got a shared bath, but man, that's like who's got rooms with a shared bath. And so the Manago Hotel can be yours for the 2.4 acres for the low price of $5.75 million. So, and then Dylan, you've got something about this place. So share. This is so fun.
Well, so you can actually see my grandma's house. So see that blue roof in the left side there, right to the.
Oh, no kidding!
Right below that is my grandma's house. No, that's not the one right below that is the brown roof right below that. So I grew up basically right next to this hotel. I've been here a million times. I'm actually going there tonight for my birthday dinner with my family. It's the restaurant is one of my favorite places. I think we talked about this a couple of shows ago about favorite places to eat. But it's super sad that I mean, this is an end of an era, and there's been a bunch of different talk about like turning into like affordable housing or workforce housing. They're trying to sell it. There's just some major issues with it because it is historic, and I mean, the historic nature is absolutely the lobby is exactly the same as it was. I mean, I can walk in there, and 30 years ago when I go there as a kid and buy like M&Ms and stuff from there was a little candy drawer where you could buy candy and stuff from them. It looks exactly the same, but because the hotel is so old, like it doesn't have sprinklers, like all of the current code, right? There's no elevators, and so if you were to do something kind of modern and commercial with it, you'd have to incur a ton of cost, and that's been, I think, the big deterrent from folks. And I think there's also wastewater issues, like it's on a gang cesspool still and stuff like that. So there's a lot of issues due diligence wise that you'd have to reinvest into the facility to make it useful. But yeah, it could be a really cool boutique hotel, or even I was even thinking, I mean, kind of running the numbers, like you buy this thing and you just rent out the 42 rooms at like market long-term rent rates, and probably can turn a pretty good profit. I don't know what you can do with the shared rooms, but potentially that too. I mean, nowadays there's so few rentals on the island, you could probably figure something out. But the biggest thing that we don't want to lose is the restaurant. The restaurant is just a pillar, a gem of the Kona community. And if you've never been there, it's you basically the menu is on like a punch board on the wall, so you don't actually get a menu, and the same 15 things are on it from the last 40 years. And you just order your entree, they bring you out a big pot of rice, and then whatever 3 sides they decided to make that day is what you get. It's like eating at your friend's house, and they bring out 3 side dishes, and then they bring out your entree, and then you eat. And it's the best. It hasn't changed in 50 years. It's been around for 100 years, but as far as I remember, it hasn't changed. But yeah, this is definitely a cool property and a gem.
Wow, for sure. Well,
I think
Linda
that
loves
that
the
five
Linda
I think
loves the
that $5
restaurant
million
and the pork chop.
price tag also includes that house. I think that $5 million price tag also includes that house down below. It's a different piece of property, but they're trying to sell it all together. So there is actually a residential home that the owners live in right now.
This one, a house manager quarters, right? That's
the one
on
down below, the one you see in the corner there, the cutout, that little the house that's there.
That gray. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
I see. Oh,
Yeah.
that would be interesting. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
What a neat place.
Right?
You should have build over there.
Right?
Or level
Right?
up.
There's no facility, Sasha. There's no ballrooms or anything like that. It's just rooms, and then there's one big TV room in the front where if you want to watch TV, you got to go downstairs. It's kind of connected to the restaurant, but that's where you can watch TV because there's no TVs in the rooms.
It's probably still like the big boxy TV, yeah.
It should be like the old tube TV, man, back in the 60s, black and white. That would be appropriate.
Antennas.
And then I don't know if I've told this story before, but the Kona chips, you see that little Kona chips thing, my cousin owns that company. And so that's a cool full circle moment too, is because when we were kids, we would walk home from school and pass the old it was like in a coffee shack, the old place where they would make these chips, and they would give us like the scrap chips that weren't good enough to bag, and we'd eat them. And then like 30 years later, the family was trying to sell the company, and they were trying to, there was people interested from Oahu and the mainland, but my cousin was local, so they wanted to sell it to him, so he ended up buying it. So that's all of our clients get closing gifts from Kona chips. It's chips and cookies and all kinds of different snacks.
How cool
and
is
stuff like
that,
So,
man?
yeah.
Wow. Man, I had no idea I was landing on such a really cool historic part that's so close to your family. I had no idea whatsoever. None. That's cool. So I'm curious about that restaurant. So I want to again shout out Linda. Linda says it's awesome. Loves the restaurant and the pork chops. And you mentioned your birthday. Yeah, you mentioned your birthday, Dylan. A lone voice in a social wilderness says, "Happy birthday, Dylan." Whoever that is, God bless. Glad that you're here, lone voice in a social wilderness. So Dylan, I'm curious on the restaurant now. How popular is it? They don't sound like they take reservations or they're on open tables. So how does that work? People just wait in the line.
You can call them and get a reservation.
Okay.
So
okay. All right. So do reservation. All right.
Surprisingly, it's not that busy. I mean, I went there a couple of weeks ago, and we just showed up and went, and it was fine. But my sister-in-law's auntie works there too. So like anytime we need a table, we're definitely gonna get one. So I just gotta call Auntie Mo, and she makes sure she hooks us up. So yeah.
That's awesome, man. Thanks, Dylan. That is a great. Is there any? And now you guys don't have slides, which is fine. Is there any properties you guys want to highlight, Sasha or Ronnie? Anything you want to mention that people you guys rattled off a bunch of them? Is there anything you guys want to share before we move on? All right, let's do.
I didn't respond quickly enough. It's in Hanamaulu. It's 6 minutes from the town core, the hospital. It is a 3-bedroom, 3-bath, relatively new for the island build from 2008. Very secluded, and it's priced under $1 million. It's probably one of the 3 or 4 lowest price per square foot homes on the island of Kauai. And it is a very specific kind of neighborhood that you've kind of got to be okay with, I would say. But very practical living, very private. The only challenge is a very steep driveway with very limited parking, but a great value. A lot of the older Hawaiian homes and plantation homes, while they have a lot of charm, I think the bedrooms were built for much tinier people than me. This is a more modern house that you might find in a different state with big bedrooms. And I think that's a big plus. So if you want information, you can see it on our YouTube channel or call me.
Call Ronnie. We got the description. Also, you can click on the descriptions in the YouTube and get a hold of us. Sasha, is there anything that you want to highlight just off the top of your head? What's like your hot property? If I said, Sasha, what's the hottest? What's like the best one that you want to put forward now? What would it be?
Well, right now I got one listing that I need to get rid of. But no, I mentioned it earlier. It is the best price 4-bedroom, 3-bath townhome. on an island, and it's priced at $545 fee simple. It is a condo, more like a townhouse. So there's a community pool. They just dropped HOA fees, and yeah, it's awesome.
Awesome. Well, click on the link in the description, folks, if you want some more information. All right, let's move on. We got some closing thoughts over here. Now I know that Sasha and Ronnie, you guys don't have to if you got something that comes to your mind, go ahead and do it. This is the time when we kind of share like motivational thoughts, key things, wisdom, stuff like that. And so Dylan's always got something cool. Dylan, what's yours, and what does it mean to you?
This is from Tim Grover. He was Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade's strength and conditioning coach. But he's got a couple of great books, Winning and Relentless. But this is one of his quotes that I heard him on a podcast recently. That just reminded me of it. But if you think the cost of winning is too high, wait till you get the bill for regret. So whenever you're thinking about, putting in the work or making that investment in education or taking that risk, and the cost might be too high, just think about the cost of the bill for regret if you don't do it. So.
Oh man, the bill for regret. Regret. Ronnie, I know you and I are kind of in the same generation, and as you get older, the regrets of your past, they just, I don't know about you, but they kind of burrow into me, man. And you really, those regrets come back again and again and again. They just don't seem to.
And it applies all the time to the real estate market, right? If you think buying today is too high, the cost of regretting that 5 years from now that you didn't buy today is much higher. So we're always hearing that. Yeah,
I love the thought that Dan Sullivan says. He's a coach, leadership coach. He talks about the gap in the gain and how in life we tend to look at the gap. In this case, maybe the regrets, things we haven't done, where we got to get to, and the gain is everything we've done. So I think a good way to mitigate that, if you will, Peter, is just, have a heart of gratitude and look at everything that has worked out and focus on that. But here's my quote from John Maxwell, who's a real top person in leadership. A person must be big enough to admit his mistakes, smart enough to profit from them, and strong enough to correct them.
Excellent.
Good.
Excellent. That sounds like one of those prayers that Lord, give me the wisdom to see one of those prayers. Sounds
prayer.
Good. Serenity prayer. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Ronnie. All right, I've got Sasha. Do you have anything? Do you have anything that you'd like to share? You don't have to. It's kind of unprepared, off the cuff. Is there anything? A favorite? What's your favorite motivating quote?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but
all good. Sorry to put you on the spot.
I'll just end with this. When you think of aloha is it's love, and it's respect, and it's God's love. But when you think of home is where aloha is. So
awesome. Excellent. Thank you. Pretty good for unplanned there, Sasha. Pretty good for the unplanned quote. Thank you. All right, and I'm going to close with mine as tradition here. I've got my Proverbs, and it says, "The ear that hears the rebukes of life will abide among the wise." So rebukes is corrections, is constructive criticism. It's helpful advice. So if you hear the ear that hears the rebukes of life, so it's your reference to God, Sasha, will abide among the wise. All right, folks. That's it for today. Thanks very much. We're going to see you folks in 2 weeks. That's going to be August 1st. Dylan, have a happy birthday. Have a great birthday celebration tomorrow. And let's see, Rich, there you go. See, there you go. Way to go, Sasha. Rich Leave It loves it. Absolutely, man. The real deal here. So, okay, we're going to go counterclockwise. Sasha, then Ronnie, then Dylan. Say goodbye, everybody.
Aloha.
Happy Aloha Friday. Make it a great and fascinating day and weekend.
Yeah, have an awesome weekend, everybody. Aloha.
Awesome weekend. Happy birthday, Dylan. We'll see you all in 2 weeks.
Birthday,
Aloha.
Dylan.
Happy birthday. See you later.